You need to have a high yield savings account. Let's get into my top 5 that you need to consider. Remember, all high yield savings accounts are not created equal. Some of them have monthly maintenance fees and some of them have minimums. When you look for a high yield savings account, the first thing that you're going to look for is
we getting money, money, money. When Jameer sharing gems with a getting money, money, money. Getting a line, growing money and getting money, money, money. It's your life, trying to get more getting money, money.
I have a secret, and I'm going to trust you with this secret, and I'm going to hope that you keep it between you and I, okay? Can we do that? So here's the thing. I don't pay my own bills. I actually have a sugar daddy, and I'm not ashamed of it. Like, I am so happy about the sugar daddy that I think I'm going to keep him around for a long, long time. See, me and my sugar daddy, we met a few years ago, and it was love at first sight. Immediately when I met him, I was like, where have you been all my life? Why didn't I know you before? Why have I been wasting so much time with these other situations? He pays my light bill. He pays my mortgage. Sometimes he even buys me clothes. And the best thing is, he's a sugar daddy who doesn't even ask for any sugar. I don't even have to spend any time with him. He is literally the gift that keeps on giving. I just love him so much. And I'm gonna tell you how you can get you one too, because every woman needs a sugar daddy and every man needs a sugar mama. And the amazing thing is that even if you're married, you can still tell your spouse about your sugar daddy or your sugar mama. And I promise you, they will be 100% okay with it. They may even want to join y'all.
Blow, chicka, blow, blow.
I gave my sugar daddy a nickname. I call him my little HYSA. That stands for my little high yield savings account. And let's be honest, he ain't little at all, if you know what I'm saying. As you may have realized, my sugar daddy is my high yield savings account. And the passive income from it literally pays my bills. You can have the exact same thing, and I'm gonna show you how. Welcome to the Get Money Show. My name is Gwen Jameer, and I'm a serial entrepreneur who has grown multiple businesses to $1 million and beyond. But I've also had my fair share of money challenges. My mission here is to help you learn from my mistakes and my learnings so that you can finally get financially free and live the life that you truly want. So what is a HYSA, or a high yield savings account? A high yield savings account is essentially an account that pays you more in interest than you would get at a traditional savings account. In fact, the rate difference is striking. The average savings account will get you 0.45% on your money. That's less than 1% on your money. Compare that to the average high yield savings account, which will get you an average of 5% on your money. That's over 10 times more in passive income in the form of interest that you get simply from moving your money from a traditional savings account to a high yield savings account. That's literally a difference of thousands of dollars that you are losing every single month and every single year that you keep your money in a traditional savings account, or even worse, if you don't have a savings account at all. In fact, you could be losing almost $10,000 just by having your money in a traditional savings account versus a high yield savings account. And I'm going to show you the math on that in just a moment. Now, all high yield savings accounts are not created equal. Some of them have fees, some of them have minimums that you must maintain in the account. I'm going to tell you my top 5 high yield savings accounts that you need to consider putting your money in that don't have any fees and don't have any minimums. And even though the average high yield savings account is 5%, the 5 I'm going to give you actually will get you even more, because you know, I got you. But first, I want to make sure that you really understand why you need to have your money in a high yield savings account, the difference between that, a regular CD or an MMA, and exactly what you need to be looking for when you search for your high yield savings account. Let's get into it. So you might be wondering, well, why wouldn't you just put your money into a CD or a certificate of deposit? Well, an HYSA, or a high yield savings account, is completely liquid, meaning you can access your money anytime you want. Your money is not locked up at all. Contrast that to a CD, or a certificate of deposit. It will also get you a high interest rate, but you often don't have access to your money for 3 months to sometimes up to 5 years, depending on the type of CD you sign up for. I don't know about you, but I want my money when I want my money. In fact, having your money in a CD is highly detrimental if you have your emergency savings account in it. I always tell you, make sure that you have 3 to 6 months, or even better, 12 months of savings in an emergency savings account. That emergency savings account should always be in a high yield savings account, because you're going to be earning a high amount of interest just by having your money sit in this account. Now, let's say you have an emergency that requires you to access your emergency savings account, but your money is locked up in a CD that you can't get out for, say, another 12 months. I know you don't want to be told that you can't get to it. That's the whole point of having the emergency savings account, so you can get to it when you need it. So now if your money is locked up in a CD, you can't access it, and you have a financial emergency that you need to access your money for, how are you going to pay for the emergency? So now you've got to go into debt to take care of the emergency that you saved the emergency savings for, but you can't access it because it's in a CD. That's hustling backwards. So now that we've discussed why CDs are not the move in this case, we're going to talk about money market accounts, also known as MMAs. Money market accounts will also oftentimes give you a high interest rate, which is great. However, they often require you to have a high minimum opening deposit, sometimes as high as $10,000. And most also have monthly maintenance fees. We don't want no fees. We don't want no minimums at all. So for that reason, I shy away from the MMAs. Because again, your interest rate is going to be pretty much comparable to a high yield savings account anyway. So why bother putting your money into a money market account unless you're 100% super clear you'll always have that minimum in the account? And life starts to life sometimes. You cannot guarantee that an emergency is not going to happen. Maybe you have $15,000 in your savings account, but you have to take out, let's say, $7,000 for something that you weren't expecting, but the minimum requirement in the MMA account is $10,000. Now you're paying even more fees and your account might even get closed because you don't have that minimum of $10,000 in it. Let's make things simple, make things easy, make them uncomplicated. Why have to worry about minimums over here with an MMA? Well, you don't have to worry about it at all with the high yield savings accounts that I'm going to give you in just a minute. So now that we're clear on why you should have a high yield savings account as opposed to one of these other financial vehicles, it's vital that you remember that your emergency savings account is to go into this high yield savings account that you are going to open. If you've downloaded my Get Money Budget Planner and you've used it, you already know how much you require to live comfortably for 3 to 6 or even 12 months. This number is going to be your emergency savings account. At minimum, you really need to have 6 months. I know some people say 3, but as I've discussed before, 3 is the bare minimum, like bare bones. Because if any sort of emergency occurs, you don't want to only have 3 months of living expenses saved, right? You really need to be striving for 6. And if you can do 12, even better. If you haven't downloaded the Get Money Budget Planner, why not? Go ahead and click the link in the show notes and I'll send it to you for 100% free. This is the best way for you to accurately and honestly be able to sit with yourself and understand how much you need to be having in your emergency savings account. Everybody's emergency savings account number is going to be different. When you use the Get Money Budget Planner, it's going to tell you how much money you need per month to comfortably live. You're going to multiply that number by 6 to equate to 6 months of living expenses. So let's do some math. For this example, we're going to say that someone has a $5,000 per month living expense. Multiply that times 6, that means that this person needs to save $30,000 in their emergency savings account in order to have a fully funded emergency savings. This is the minimum amount this person needs to save in order to feel comfortable should an emergency or some catastrophic financial event occur in their life. Now let's do the math on this. And let's call her Kelly for the purposes of this example. Kelly has $30,000 in an emergency savings account. If Kelly puts her money in a traditional savings account earning 0.45% interest, by the end of the year, she will have $135 that she didn't do anything for. It just sat in the account and it earned $135. Now let's say Kelly took that same $30,000 and put it in a high yield savings account earning the average of 5%. Instead of $135, Kelly will have earned $1,500 by the end of that year. That means that Kelly is losing $1,365 every year that her money is not in a high yield savings account. Do you see why this is important? This is an important mindset shift because when you realize that it's not that she's not getting the extra $1,365, it's that she's actually losing $1,365 that makes the difference. Okay, so let's do a lower amount, okay? Because I realize that $30,000 may seem like a large number and you may be feeling like, well, where am I even going to get $30,000 right now to save? Well, understand that Kelly, in this example, would have saved that money over time, okay? Just like she would have paid her debt off over time, she would have saved her money over time. Remember, slow and steady wins the race. We're not trying to be the rabbit in the story of the tortoise and the hare, okay? We are the tortoise. Slow and steady are we paying off our debt. Slow and steady are we building our emergency savings account, okay? Try not to let your mind freak out too much over a number that might seem too large for you because you too can save that amount. It just takes time, right? And again, depending on what your cost of living is, it might be a lower number for you for 6 months. This is just Kelly's number, okay? So let's take a lower number and let's say $1,000, okay? $1,000 is pretty easy to save, don't you think? Even if you just saved $100 a month for 10 months, you would have $1,000. Can you do that? Let me know in the comments if you feel like it's feasible for you to be able to save $100 over the course of 10 months to get to $1,000. Okay. So let's say in this example of $1,000, if you were to put your $1,000 into a traditional savings account by the end of the year at 0.45% interest, you will earn a whopping $4.50. However, if you just put that same $1,000 into a high yield savings account, you would earn $50. Literally more than 10 times the amount that you earned in the traditional savings account. And the thing is, you don't have to do anything extra. But in both cases, the money's just sitting in the bank, earning passive income for you. Okay, so $1,000 is a pretty low amount. Let's raise it up a little bit. Let's say $5,000. If you put $5,000 into a traditional savings account, earning 0.45% interest, at the end of the year, you will have earned $22.50. On the other hand, if you put that same $5,000 into a high yield savings account, earning the average of 5%, you will earn $250 in interest. Again, both just sitting there passively. This is passive income, okay? Passive is not fast. This is a whole school of thought online because we live in this microwave society and everybody wants everything super fast. True passive income does not equate to fast income. This money is earned over time. It takes time for you to get it, but if you accumulate it and you let it just sit there, you will have so much money. I'm going to tell you how one single account can earn almost $10,000 in passive income if you just let it chill and sit there. So now let's do a higher amount. Let's say $50,000. Let's say someone was able to save $50,000. Let's say this is Megan. Megan was able to save $50,000 in her emergency savings account. And so if she put that $50,000 into a traditional savings account, earning 0.45% interest, Megan is going to earn $225 at the end of the year passively. However, if Megan put that same $50,000 into a high yield savings account, earning 5% interest, she would make $2,500 in passive income every year. Like, it's a no-brainer. So when I tell you that my sugar daddy, aka my high yield savings account, pays my bills, honey, he pays my bills because I pay my bills with the interest that my high yield savings account earns me passively. So the principal never gets touched. This is how the wealthy get wealthy and stay wealthy, because they put their money into high interest bearing accounts and they never touch the principal. They live off of the interest. So if I want to go on a trip and my high yield savings account has earned me, let's say $3,000 for the year, or let's say it earned me $2,000 for the year, or whatever. If it earned me $500 for the year, whatever it earned me, that's money that's passive that I did not have to work for. I sat on my butt and I put my money in an account and it did what it's supposed to do for me. My money was working for me. And this is why I'm saying you can do this exact same thing super easily just by moving your money into a high yield savings account. Let's say I want to go to Paris and that trip is going to cost me $3,000. If my high yield savings account earned me $4,500, let's say, that Paris trip is paid for with the interest. And my emergency savings account is still untouched. So should something catastrophic happen and I need to go and tap into my emergency savings account, remember, I'm only spending the interest. I'm not spending the principal, and you will be doing the same. You're going to earn your money passively. You're going to take that money and you're going to do whatever you want to do with it because, honey, you earned it just because. And you're going to leave your emergency savings alone, leave the principal alone, let it sit there and continue to earn more interest for you. This is why I call my HYSA, or my high yield savings account, my sugar daddy. Now remember, the percentage that you will earn on your high yield savings account is an APY. That's your annual percentage yield. That's how much you will earn in interest per year. So now that you understand all of this about high yield savings accounts, it's a wonder why 82% of people do not have their money in a high yield savings account. Most of us have our money in a traditional savings account, or even more people don't have a savings account at all. And this is so crucial for you to understand and take action on, because not only do you earn interest per year, but your interest is actually compounding every single year. So the amount of interest that you earn in year one and the interest you earn in year two is less than the interest you will earn in year four, and so forth and so on. Okay, so let's go back to Kelly. Kelly downloaded my Get Money Budget Planner for free, and she figured out how much money she needs to save to be able to comfortably live for 6 months. So over time, Kelly saved $30,000. She put that money into a high yield savings account. And that high yield savings account is going to earn, in this example, the average of 5%. Remember, I'm going to give you 5 of them that are going to give you more than 5% with no maintenance fees and no minimums. But just hang on, let's do this math real quick. So the first year that Kelly has her money in her high yield savings account, aka her HYSA, or her sugar daddy, Kelly earned $1,500 in interest. And the way that we got that math is that we took $30,000 and we multiplied it by 5%. So $30,000 times 5% is $1,500. However, However, in year 2, Kelly's not earning interest on that same $30,000. Kelly's now earning interest on $30,000 plus $1,500, which is $31,500. So now in year 2, we are multiplying the 5% interest by $31,500. So in the second year, Kelly actually earned $1,575, $75 more in the second year than she did in the first year. So in year 3, Kelly is now earning interest on $33,075. We're going to multiply that times 5%. In year 3, Kelly has earned $1,653.75 in interest just in that 1 year. Remember, the interest is compounding on the principal every single year. Now in year 4, we're actually earning interest on the $33,075 plus the $1,653.75. Combine that together, and now Kelly is earning 5% interest on $34,728.75, compared with only $30,000 from the previous year. And keep in mind, at no point has Kelly put any additional money into this account. So in year 4, we are now earning interest on $34,728.75 times 5% interest. Kelly has earned $1,736.44. Moving on to year 5, the final year of this example, Kelly is now earning 5% interest on $36,465.18. So the interest she earns in year 5 is $1,823.25. So at the end of year 5, when we add up all the numbers, Kelly is left with a total of $38,288.43. Kelly has earned $8,288.43 in pure interest just by having her money in this emergency savings account for 5 years. Now, of course, if Kelly were to keep her money in there for 7 years, 9 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, she's going to earn even more interest that's just accruing by her doing absolutely nothing. Okay, so now let's look at the same math. Had Kelly kept that same $30,000 in a traditional savings account, earning the average of 0.45% in interest. So on $30,000 times 0.45%, after year 1, Kelly would have earned $135 in interest in a traditional savings account. In year 2, she will earn $135.60 in interest. In year 3, she will earn $136.22. In year 4, she will earn $136.83. And in year 5, she will earn $137.44. If she started with $30,000 in year 1 in a traditional savings account, by the end of year 5 in this account, Kelly will have a total of $30,681.09, which means she will have earned a total of $681.09 in interest. And you may say, oh, well, that sounds pretty good, but not when you compare that to the amount that she earned by having it in a high yield savings account. Remember, in her high yield savings account, Kelly earned $8,288.43 in interest. That means if she kept her money in the traditional savings account versus the high yield savings account, Kelly lost $7,607.34. That's staggering. That's close to $10,000 that Kelly lost just by being one of the 82% of people who keep their money in a traditional savings account. Don't let this be you. What could Kelly do with this $8,288 that she earned in interest over the course of 5 years that she didn't have to work for? Kelly could take multiple trips. Kelly could pay multiple bills off. Kelly could use that money to invest in a new business. Kelly could use that money to pay for her child's college. Kelly could use that money to now invest in the stock market. There's so many things that Kelly could do with this money. Kelly could even just let the money sit there and earn even more interest. Think about it. What could you do with an additional almost 10 bands? What could you do with that? Let me know in the comments what you could do with an additional $8,288. I want to know, because there's so much that you could do with that money. And the beautiful thing about it is that you're not working for it. This is passive income. Another reason why this is important for you to move your money to a high yield savings account is for you to understand what the banks are doing with your money anyway. When we think about millionaires on average have 7 to 9 streams of income. And oftentimes, at least one of those streams of income is interest. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, how does an average person earn interest? Like banks earn interest and credit card companies earn interest. How can I as an individual person earn interest? This is literally an income stream for you. So here's what's important to know. Banks want you to have your money in their establishment. because they are using your money to fund other loans. So when James comes along and he says, hey, Bank of America, hey, Huntington, hey, Chase, hey, whatever bank, I want to take out a loan. I want to take out a mortgage. I want to take out a personal loan. I want to take out a business loan or whatever kind of loan it is. The bank then goes to someone like Kelly's account and says, hey, okay, we're going to borrow from Kelly's account and we're going to loan that money to James. So the bank is paying you interest because they are borrowing your money. That's so important for you to know. Let's say James' mortgage interest rate is 4%. The bank is going to charge James 4% for that, but they're borrowing your money to fund James's loan that they're making hella interest off of. If James has a $200,000 loan for his mortgage, they're charging him 4%. That's a lot of money that they're making, but they're only going to give you 0.45, less than 1%. You did the same amount of work that the bank did. All you did was loan your money to the bank. All the bank did is loan your money to James. Your money needs to work just as hard for you as the bank's money is working for them. The way that the bank moves money around is that they borrow from people who have their money in the bank. So if they're going to borrow from you, why would you not maximize the amount of interest that you're earning as another income stream for yourself, just like the bank is doing for itself? So now that I've convinced you that you need to have a high yield savings account, let's get into my top 5 that you need to consider. Remember, all high yield savings accounts are not created equal. Some of them have monthly maintenance fees and some of them have minimums. When you look for a high yield savings account, the first thing that you're going to look for is you want to make sure that the bank is FDIC insured. That means that should anything happen, should the economy completely tank, should we have another Great Depression or anything like that, you don't lose your money. If the bank is not FDIC insured, you're going to immediately walk away. Because again, this is our emergency savings. If there's an emergency, we can't risk the bank not being around and us losing all of our money. If that bank fails and it's not FDIC insured, you are out of luck and we don't want that. So FDIC insurance is the first thing. Every single bank that has it will have the FDIC logo at the bottom of their website. The second thing that you need to be looking for when you're looking for a high yield savings account is that you want one that has 0 fees. No fees whatsoever. And the third thing you want to make sure is that there is a very, very low, or even better, no minimum balance requirement and no minimum amount to open. Remember, I'm going to give you 5 high yield savings accounts that don't have any fees and no minimums, and all will give you more than the average 5%. Let's go. Number 5 on my list is BMO Alto. BMO Alto will give you 5.1% on your money. Number 4 on the list is Western Alliance. Western Alliance will give you 5.22% interest on your money. Number 3 on the list is New Tech Bank, which will give you 5.25%. My number 2 high yield savings account is UFB Bank, which will also give you 5.25% interest. And number 1 on my list is Genius Bank, which will give you 5.25%. Now you might be wondering why I chose Genius to be number 1 when it has the same interest as 2 of the other banks that are on my list. The reason I chose Genius to be number 1 is because Genius is the most popular of the 3 that have the 5.25% interest. And why is this important? This is important because we want things to be able to integrate. The thing I love about Genius and its growing popularity is that Genius is investing its money into being able to integrate with other banks. Let's say you have your money in a checking account over at Bank of America. Genius can naturally link up and integrate into your Bank of America account, for example. And that makes it super duper easy to transfer money back and forth, which again, as I mentioned earlier, is having super easy access to your money should you need to get it. Whereas some of the other banks have not yet created those integrations to make your life easier. So I'm all about ease and simplicity. I don't want anything complex when it comes to my money. And so for that reason, Genius Bank ranks number 1 with me right now, because not only does it get you a very high 5.25% interest rate, but it also makes life easy because you don't have to do a whole lot of work to get your money from one place to another. Also, Genius can integrate with a lot of money management apps that you might use as well. And again, because you have easy visibility into your account with Genius versus some of the other banks, that's why Genius ranks number 1 in addition to its high interest rate. Now, you might be wondering why I didn't select some of the other more well-known banks to be on my list. And there's something I want you to remember. Just because something is well-known or a household name does not make it better. Many of the well-known banks that have high yield savings accounts also tack on a whole lot of fees, or they have some really high minimums. I'll give you a couple of examples. So for example, Huntington Bank. Huntington Bank gives you a relatively high interest rate. It's 5.09% as of the time I'm making this video. However, they got a lot of extra rules that I'm just not feeling. First of all, you have to deposit $2,500 into the bank that's not already at the bank. So that means if you have a Huntington account and you have $5,000 in that account and you move $2,500 of that money from your checking account into your Huntington high yield savings account, it doesn't count for the 5.09% interest rate. It has to be money that has come from a totally different bank. And so because they got all these rules and you got to have $2,500, which is a lot for a minimum opening balance, then you're forced to bring it from another bank. It's too much for me. I don't like it. It's too complicated, too many rules, too many requirements. It's too many other options that don't have all that. So we're nixing out Huntington. There's another bank called Ivy Bank that actually will get you 5.3%, which is one of the highest that I was able to find. But you'll notice that that bank is not on my list of the top 5. And here's why. Because Ivy Bank has a minimum of $2,500 to open. So that cancels it out right away. But beyond that, I feel like Ivy Bank is playing in our faces. Because in order to earn the 5.3% interest rate, you have to maintain $2,500 in the bank at all times. And if your balance drops below $2,500 at any point, so even if you have $2,450 in the bank, your interest rate immediately drops from 5.3% down to 0.05%, which is way less than even the average traditional savings account. And I don't like that. I feel like they're playing in our faces, and that's not okay. Let's say you've got $5,000 in your emergency savings account so far, and something happens, and you have to take out $4,000 of it. You were earning 5.3% on your money, and now because you had to use your own money, the bank is going to penalize you by dropping your high rate of 5.3% all the way down to 0.05%. Not cool at all. So again, you might find some banks that have very high interest rates, but you also have to understand what comes with that. Again, you always want to make sure that there's no minimum required opening balance, no fees, and FDIC insured. Thank you for watching the Get Money Show today. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe so that you never ever miss another episode of the Get Money Show. Talk to you soon. Peace.